Welcome to USA News. This is Tremont Tran.
And Grace Fisher, reporting live from our California station.
It is August 10th, 1988, and in today's special, we are going to talk about the internment of Japanese Americans.
We'll start off with how it all began. On December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was bombed by the Japanese, affecting the lives of many Americans and also scaring them into discriminating against the Japanese Americans living on the West Coast.
Members of Congress, mayors, businesses, and labor leaders demanded that all people of Japanese ancestry be removed from the West Coast. They did not believe that Japanese Americans, although they were citizens, would remain loyal to the United States during war with Japan.
And then on February 19, 1942, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an executive order allowing the Department of War to declare any part of the United States a war zone. This also gave the authority to remove people from these war zones.
Only 4 days later, Japanese submarines shelled an oil refinery off the coast of Santa Barbara, California. Secretary of War Henry Stimson declared most of the West Coast a war zone and called for all people of Japanese descent to be evacuated to 10 internment camps further inland.
Approximately 120,000 people were relocated. It wasn't until 1945 when the U.S. government began to release Japanese Americans from the camps.
In the court case Korematsu versus United States, the Supreme Court upheld the legality of the relocation order. In December 1944, Fred Korematsu, a Japanese American, argued that his rights had been violated.
The Supreme Court ruled that the relocation was constitutional because it was based not on race but military urgency. Later, the court ruled that loyal American citizens could not be held against their will. The last camp was not closed until March 1946.
Here's exclusive footage of this event.
Evacuation. More than 100,000 men, women, and children, all of Japanese ancestry, removed from their homes in the Pacific Coast states to wartime communities established in out-of-the-way places. Their evacuation did not imply individual disloyalty, but was ordered to reduce a military hazard at a time when danger of invasion was great. 2/3 of the evacuees are American citizens by right of birth. The rest are their Japanese-born parents and grandparents. The people are not under suspicion. They are not prisoners. They are not internees. They are merely dislocated people, the unwounded casualties of war. The time, spring and summer of 1942. The place, 10 different relocation centers in unsettled parts of California, Arizona, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado, and Arkansas. The relocation centers are supervised by the War Relocation Authority, which assumed responsibility for the people after they had been evacuated and cared for temporarily by the Army. A relocation center, housing from 7,000 to 18,000 people. Barrack-type buildings divided into compartments. 12 or 14 residence buildings to a block. Each block provided with a mess hall, bathhouse, laundry building, and recreation hall. About 300 people to a block. The entire community bounded by a wire fence and guarded by military police, symbols of the military nature of the evacuation. Each family, upon arrival at a relocation center, was assigned to a single-room compartment, about 20 by 25 feet. Barren, unattractive. A stove, a light bulb, cots, mattresses, and blankets. Those were the things provided by the government.
Special emphasis was put on the health and care of these American children of Japanese descent.
To talk more about these camps, we have Rose Otaki, a Japanese American whose first-hand experience of these internment camps will provide insight to us all. Over to Station 5, we have Gerald interviewing Rose.
Thanks, Grace. Hi, it's Gerald, and I'm interviewing
Rose Otaki.
So, Rose, what was life like before you were put into a camp?
Life was pretty good. I was born on November 14th, 1921 and lived in San Francisco in Chinatown as a Japanese American. I was at the University of California when I was removed to Santa Anita.
What was life like in the camp?
The camp was very overcrowded and had poor living conditions. I lived in a horse stall for 6 months. I was also separated from my mom, dad, and sisters, wondering if I would ever see them again.
Did you ever see them again?
Fortunately, yes.
At the time, did you know why you were being taken?
I was taken with no information about where I was going, why I was taken, how long I would be gone, how I was going to be treated, and uncertainty about my future loomed large.
So how did you feel being in these camps?
I felt as a Japanese American, my rights were violated and I didn't feel safe in what I thought was my home being in the United States. I endured such dehumanizing conditions such as poor housing, like I mentioned earlier, lack of food and privacy, and inadequate medical care.
That is so devastating to hear. What did you do when you were released?
I married my now husband. I met actually inside the camp, and we moved to Chicago, where I taught early childhood education and child psychology development.
Wow. Okay, well that concludes our interview. Back to you, Grace and Sherman. Thanks, Gerald and Rose. Okay, now we're going to talk about...
Breaking news! President Ronald Reagan just apologized to Japanese Americans on behalf of the U.S. government. We are being told that he just signed legislation giving $20,000 to each surviving Japanese American who was interned during World War II.
That is amazing to hear. This is history in the making.
It sure is, Grace.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. This is Grace
And Tremont.
from USA News. Have a nice day, America.